We live, baby. Yeah. We live, baby. Come on in. Come step on in. I'm talking to you. I'm only talking to you.
Everything is toxic. All of them people watching. All of them people seeing your depression and you flopping. Body looking, boxing on that YouTube.
Two crews who going at each other. Ooh, you lose. It's
Toxic. Them Jordans that you copping.
toxic. The cutie that you chasing, they call us the foul nation. Everything is
Basic.
nothing is for the mastery. Now she has the right to be mad and oh, you mad at me.
It's toxic. Everything is savagery. Nobody feeling godly. Nobody pray to God. They say hardly. Everything is toxic. The ice inside your watches. Somebody lost a limb while your friends go and cop it.
It's toxic.
Arguing bad in front of kids. Yeah, it's toxic. Loving dope boys who do bigs.
Yeah, it's toxic.
Not giving back to where you live. Yeah, it's toxic. From Syracuse, New York to the bridge.
Columbia, I love Rumbler. Outnumber her. A friend had went and checked in and said she was gonna humble her. Told her she wasn't pretty, now she's sailing that her numbers up. Think it's toxic and I told her that you one of us.
Toxic. Not spending time to love yourself.
Yeah, it's toxic.
Won't you go and gossip about your health? Yeah, it's toxic.
Step on in, stop it in, step on in. Yeah. Step on in, man. I'm checking in today, man. For real serious. What's going on, Tiana? How you doing? What's up to everybody that's checking in today? And it's a real serious topic today, man. So hopefully, you could check in. You can stop by for a couple of minutes. I promise I'm gonna be out your way. Only gonna be 30 minutes. So I got some dope information to talk about today. Just, my weekly podcast, man, my weekly updates. So I hope you and yours is doing good. The summer just started for a lot of you. So hopefully y'all doing amazing things already, like resting, getting your mind right, waiting for, maybe going to a water park, maybe going somewhere fun. I don't know. But whatever's on your menu today, or for the summer, take advantage. Right. So today's topic, we're going to be discussing. Today we're discussing mental health. And the question is why black men don't go to therapy. Why black men don't go to therapy. Why black men don't, see a counselor. How come black men don't take the opportunity to go check in and see a therapist? Right? That's a real big issue. So first thing I want to do, I'm talking to you. I just want you to know. 50 Cent once said this. So let's check in.
Based on, I think the things you go through make you who you are. Mm-hmm. And in my journey, like there's certain things that I'm not really, I don't even let it into my system like that. I think depression is a luxury.
Wow.
Because where I'm from, you can't afford to be depressed. You got to pay the bill, right?
Right.
So you gotta go to work. You gotta get up. You gotta go do what you gotta do. You got people right now that's at work don't feel like being there, but they got responsibilities, so they feel uncomfortable while they're working, while they're doing what they gotta do. When these guys get in a slump and they just decide that they're not gonna do anything, I'm like, where they do that at?
Right.
Right. So, I'm not gonna lie. At one point in time, that I understand where he's coming from. I mean, even when I was in school, when I was young, especially like elementary school, middle school, even high school, like unless I had to talk to the counselor, which was the guidance counselor, which was the person who just put together your educational packet, a packet to get you to go to school, right? Unless I was in that space, I never talked to anybody about my problems and issues that I was going through. Growing up, when I was in elementary school, middle school, it wasn't even a thing. It wasn't even heard of to be able to talk about going to see a counselor or to talk about going to see a therapist. It was something they never even mentioned to us. They wouldn't even. It wasn't even a thing. I don't know if any school had it across in the 90s, but I definitely know where I was going to school at, we didn't have it at all. But the main question is why. Why wasn't that available to us? Why wasn't that something that was, we could check in and we could, utilize and have that be a part of our arsenal? Why couldn't I be able to check in and talk to somebody? My parents, every time I would watch TV, I would watch the TV and they'd call it a shrink. They'd be like, oh, he's seeing a shrink. Oh, you got to go see a shrink. And it was always either a white man or a white woman sitting in a chair somewhere in Manhattan. And they was, they was sitting there with the notepad and the book, and it would just be them. And they would just sit there and they would just be talking, and the other person would be on the couch. And I'm like, who has the opportunity to go see that? Who is getting paid to go do that? And and how much do you getting paid to sit there and listen to that? So that was something that we weren't privy to that. Cause like 50 Cent said, in my neighborhood, when I was growing up, depression was a luxury. You had to get up, get out, and get something. Don't let the days of your life pass you by. You had to get up, get out, and get something. How would you make it if you never even tried? You had to hustle. You had to go. You had to push through, right? Your family got to eat. Your kids got to eat. The bills got to be paid, right? Or they coming and they going to turn everything off. And at this particular time, they used to tell us, people don't care about your emotions. They don't care about your feelings, right? But then fast forward, I remember when Kid Cudi checked in to the hospital. He was talking about depression. He had suicidal thoughts and he was going through things, right? I'm not sure what the brother was going through, so I don't want to make, light of that situation. But it was definitely something that was like, oh, okay. And then they had the hashtag "You Good Man," right? It was something that they was posting about, they were talking about. So it was starting to become, not that his issue was making it more, highlighted, but it was numerous things. But definitely from an artist, we always used to, check in, and we hear Tupac used to talk about, he having visions and things going on in his head, and Biggie Smalls having suicidal thoughts with his music, right? Just different energies, different things of that nature. And it was always like, yo, man, what's up with this? Do artists get depressed? Because we know they do. We know they go through things, whether it's through acute depression from one of your homies dying, somebody spinning the block and hitting them, or rather it's through, PTSD from growing up in harsh neighborhoods, or growing up through harsh situations with your family, or just being having issues and problems and complications and things of that matter. So let's get to the beginning of everything. The main topic for me today is, why don't black men go to therapy? Why don't black men go to therapy, right? And so the first thing I want to talk to, man, is, let's get into it, man. Today, we're just diving into this real quick. So I thank you for everybody sending me text messages real quick. Y'all kind of vibing with me. I see y'all. I like that. So let's get to the beginning of it, man. Through all of the journaling, the history, let's talk about it, man. Slavery, man, right? Black men during those slavery times was dehumanized, was abused, was told to keep up and keep going, was getting whipped, watching the families ripped apart, just through inhumane situations, right? Going through a lot of harshness that you had to continuously push through, And like I mentioned before, at one particular time, this was something that was very much, it was accepted across the whole United States, practically in the world. It was, moving it, transporting it, moving it, shipping it, and you move out. And this was something that, in order to not be harmed, in order to not be scarred, in order to not show emotion, this was something that black men and black women, black families had to hold their head, and they had to move through and had to push through. I told you at one particular time, they used to say you were too dumb to go to therapy. They used to say you weren't smart enough to go to therapy. Your issues and problems are not that complicated for you to be seeing a therapist, right? And we already know some of those scientific facts, some of those things, the studies that they were doing were inhumane, were racist, weren't facts, was based on all types of things that were just misinformation all around the board. So it's a problem with that information as well. But through that, When black people finally got free, we didn't take the opportunity to go check into therapy. We didn't take the opportunity to go talk to a counselor. We didn't have the luxury to sit back and be like, you know what? I need to talk to somebody about these issues and about these problems. We had to push through. We had to keep going. We had to make it happen. And through that, through the trials and tribulations of that, with the skills that we had, with the working, not being able to vent and get out things, and watching people hanged and hung, and watching all types of things going on that's happening within their life, we had to push through. We had to keep going, right? Not to say we were doing good. Not to say that, oh, it's all right. We doing better. But who are we going to talk to? Who are we going to vent to? What resources do we have, right? What skills do I have? What money do I have to pay for this? Who is going to help me pay for this? So this was something that was very much deep. It was very deep within the process. And then it was a survival culture. It was something that we had to tap into, and we had to keep that emotional silence. Black men had to, watch their family go hungry. So you had to get up and get into the field. You had to get up out there and get into the industrial field. You had to, the great migration, move from the south all the way to the north. We had to do what we had to do to feed our families. Tough. And at one particular time, well, I'm not going to say, but I'm just going to give you a short, brief synopsis of all of this, because this is not every single black man's issue. Some black men do go to therapy, and they might not go for all of the reasons that I'm listing. And some black men don't go to therapy, and they might not be for all of the reasons that I'm saying they go to therapy for, right? It could be a multitude of different things. But in the process of black men going to therapy, we got to start normalizing the conversation. So before I move forward, I do want to tell you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Like, subscribe, and share. Like, subscribe, and share. We're getting the views up, but the likes and the subscriptions, we definitely got to do more. And the comments got to go up as well. This is mental wealth, baby. We got to tap in. I need your help. I need your help on this. So this is something that I definitely want people to understand, right? So through that, at one particular time when it came to therapy, when it came to black men holding their head up, black men at one point, we were made, it was like, yo, it's honorable to go to war. It's honorable to go die. It's honorable to get up and fight for your country. It's honorable to do all of these things. But now as time has changed, these things aren't prevalent like that no more. We on the brink of some weird stuff going on right now in our economy and our country, world. But at one particular time, it was like, that's what men did. They fought with their family. They fought for their family. They got up, they went out, they did honorable things for their family. And that was there. And we didn't cry. It wasn't no crying and complaining about it. And it was how did they get through? What was the alternative solution for them to get through? It was alcoholism. It was dealing with the community. It was drugs, right? It was talking maybe to religious leaders, right? It was all of these things that was out there. It was all of these things that was seen. So why don't black men go to therapy? So let's get into it. It's the stigma, right? It's the stigma. Therapy for black men at times is seen as a weakness, right? Now, more black men are getting into therapy. As I told you before, out of 25% of the black community goes to therapy. 10 to 15% of that is black women that go to therapy. And the 5 to 6% of that, the small percentage of that, is black men going to therapy. Right? Because therapy isn't seen as something that is cool. Right? There's a scene with Jay-Z. Jay-Z's actually talking to a therapist. It was a black therapist. He came out. I forgot his name, so forgive me, brother. But he came out. He talked to Chief Keef. He was talking to Prodigy. I think he was talking to, if I'm not mistaken, he might have been talking to Joe Budden, right? He was talking to different MCs about problems and trials and tribulations that they was going through. So therapy for us is something that, we're starting to step into more and starting to gracefully wanting to be a part of. But it isn't something that everybody is open mind to, right? It's like when I was talking to one of my students the other day. He was like, my dad say real men don't cry. right? My dad said real men don't cry. My dad say, you know, and I'm like, here's a young man who's going to take that information. He's going to internalize that information, and he's going to grow up, and he's going to possibly have a hyper masculinity. He's going to have the false set of what a man is and what a man does. And even when he's upset and sad and he's willing to cry or he's in a space of vulnerability and he has friends and somebody to talk to, he's going to hold that in. And that stress is going to come out into him when he's maybe in school later, or as anger, or through violence, or through drugs, or through sex, or through something that's going to be dysfunctional and toxic for him. So brother, we got to get into our mental wealth. We can't enjoy the wealth if we're not taking care of our mental. We can't enjoy the money if we're not taking care of our emotional health. We can't enjoy this beautiful life as long as we want to if we're not taking care of our mind, body, and soul. Right? We have to. We got to tap into that. We got to make sure that we remember all of the things that we're here for and what we're trying to get to. I remember me and a young lady, we fell out one time, right? We was talking. And I was online. I said, black men, man, y'all got to think of yourself as a prize, right? And we fell out. Me and she doesn't talk to me no more at all. But I didn't mean you think you look better than this woman and you got to treat her, you know, negatively and put your foot, you know, treat her wrong. And that's far from what was on my mind. I was saying, brother, we're not at war all day. I know our neighborhood makes us feel like we're at war all day. I know this world makes us feel like we're through systemic racism, institutionalized racism, but we got to fight back, and we got to start remembering how valuable and beautiful we are. We got to remember that we the chosen ones, man. We got to remember that we here to support our families and be with our families and love our families. We got to remember that, you know, it's black gold inside of you. We got to remember who we are. And we're losing ourselves every single day, jumping out into the community, beefing and fighting and shooting at each other and ruining each other's lives for all kind of reasons. That, is it worth it? Is it worth it? And a lot of it isn't worth it for something somebody else said or what somebody has done to you, you know, and some of it isn't worth it. So once again, it's that stigma that discourages us from going to therapy, right? And we got to have open discussions about that. And remember this, you got to seek professional help for that. Things that your father may have done to you when you were a kid that have robbed you, or your mom or your uncles or your cousins, right, that you still are harboring and holding on to, right? We got to learn how to talk to somebody about those things and don't live with silence in that. As we move forward, man, it's the cultural beliefs, right? And then that plays out in the many families, the African-American community, the Caribbean community, right? There's Muslims, there's, you know, all types of different religions that play out. And it's like, yo, we don't talk to, you know, therapists. We don't open up about those things, right? But deep in those communities, there are kids and there are people that's like, yo, I need to, you know, express myself. I need to talk to somebody about that, right? So that's one of the things I want to get through your mind is therapy is not just for weak people. Therapy is for so many people. It's open to all of us. It's open to so many, and we gotta normalize seeing more representation within this field. That's the only way you're going to be comfortable about getting out there and going to talk to somebody and really putting yourself on that chair or in that couch or on that Zoom session, right? And really say, hey, I want to talk about this. And it's not just for you. And I mentioned this the other day. Sometimes people think like if I go to therapy, it's showing that I have a problem. It's showing that I have an issue. And if you have a problem or you have an issue, and it's something that you're going through, you should not be ashamed to step in and talk about that. You should definitely talk about that. But you should find a therapist or a counselor and somebody you comfortable with that, you know, you can open up and share and have that conversation with, right? And that's going to take time. Your counselor or your therapist should do the work with you to make you feel comfortable about that, right? And that's going to take time. But it's definitely not for weak people. And guess what? As I shared last time, CEOs go to therapy. Athletes go to therapy. I watched an episode with Draymond Green one time. I think it's on Prime, and Draymond was on there, and he was doing the meditation and everything, and he was talking to a therapist, and in his space he was going because he was trying to figure out why am I so aggressive. Why am I so aggressive? What's going on with me, right? And he was going for that, and he was doing all of the meditations. And we know Draymond is an incredible, aggressive. I mean, he's a baller. He could play basketball with the best of them. But we also know him for his antics and things that he do on the field. But he was going for that, and it was a very deep show, and I thought that was very powerful to see that black man on there, right? We got CEOs that go to therapy. They go to therapy just to try to figure out how to resolve conflict in a positive way. Not in a way when I'm yelling at you and you yelling at me and we beefing with each other and now I'm saying things to you, just belligerent things and trying to hurt and harm you. And now you yelling at me and now we're going back and forth, because emotions ruin so many relationships. The quicker you get upset, the quicker you get mad, cooler heads always prevail, right? It's always the man that is slow to anger wins, right? So cooler heads always prevail. So the minute you get upset and you can't control it, because that young child in you still wants to be heard, that child in you still wants to be seen. You want to call somebody out the name, you want to yell at them, you want to curse at them. That's when all hell breaks loose. And the older you get, I'm not gonna lie, women ain't taking that. You either come healed or don't come at all. They're not taking that. I'm being honest with you. So you're gonna have to, if you want things to last, even if you want to be a coach, right? Even if you're an athlete, I want to go to the NBA, I want to play ball, I want to be on this sports team, yada yada yada. You can't take, if you above reproach, your coach don't want you. If you can't take direction, if you can't be coachable, your coach don't want you. Right? Your players might not even be around you. Friends sometimes come together and was like, yo, coach, I can't really work with him. All he do is get mad and get upset, right? And then they start to distance themselves away from you. So those are things you got to really start to tap in and have some self-awareness about, and really start to really figure out, what's happening? Am I what's going on with me? Let me check in with me and figure out what's going on with me, man. And we gotta think about the traditional, just black masculinity, the norms, the things that center around us just being stoic, right? Just having that, I'm good, I'm all right. Nah, brother, you might not be all right, bro. I don't need nobody to talk to. I handle mine on my own. Some people do that. There's a small percentage of people who can literally get over all of the things that they go through. This is a very small percentage. They have proven through DNA, right? There's genes that people have that allow for them to get over things and become a little bit more resilient. So some people do have that. Some people can get over certain things through a conversation. They need a couple days, right? But if you're going through something and it's a continuous process, right, and you still vulnerable, you still upset, you still mad at that, it's years later, you might need to talk to somebody about that, right? Because you know what happens when you suppress your emotions? You know what happens when you keep all of that stuff bottled in? You know what happens when you keep it bottled in. You know what happens when you keep it bottled in. Now somebody's the B word, or now somebody's, you cursing somebody out, or now you yelling or screaming, or you throwing things, right? Or because you didn't get a chance to talk about that. Now you taking advantage and you getting high, or you doing things that might hurt and harm you. And I'm not saying this I'm just highlighting these things, right? Just highlighting these things. I'm not calling you out, but I'm definitely highlighting these things because you might not be the person doing that. You might know somebody that's doing that. And there's a lot of things that's happening. So sometimes, do you know how they say check on your strong friends? Sometimes you got to check on your strong friends, man. But let's continue. Another reason why black men don't go to therapy is the mistrust, man. It's the mistrust for the system. It's just period. Some like this guy that comes to the he steps in sometime and he shows up and he comes to when he's discussing with his kids and stuff, and he's just like, yeah, I know, it's like he viewed all of the therapists and the counselors like they was just the police, right? And it was like, nah, I know, y'all with the, it's like, and it's just kind of like, what information will I give you that you're going to hold against me? Right? For one, you should know that your therapist, your counselor, or everything that you share with them is confidential. Unless you are going to hurt somebody or you're going to hurt yourself. Right? So that is something you definitely got to know. Unless you're going to hurt somebody or you're going to hurt yourself, everything you share with your therapist, it should be confidential. Right? And if you bring people, it should be confidential amongst your group. But can't guarantee that everybody in your group is going to hold that information. But that is something I want to share with you. So as we move forward, it's the mistrust in the healthcare system. Right? We talking about just going through and dealing with the syphilis issue when the Tuskegee Airmen were around, right? We're talking about dealing with how countless of black people were operated on and with no type of anesthesia and things of that nature, and hurt and harmed by the healthcare system. We're talking about how black people were, mass incarceration at a high number. Why would I want to talk to you? Why would I want to have a conversation with you? And I tell you what, brother, we might can't solve all of that right now, but we can definitely find a way for you to get through it and cope with these things right now at this particular time. You might learn something about yourself, find a skill about yourself, find a thought about yourself, realize something in your past when you were a kid that you're holding on to that you didn't think was bothering you. Do you know how much things inside of you right now, to all of the people that are of age or maybe young age as well, but people that are up there and adults and things, you know how much stuff you got inside of you that you think you're over, and all in you have no idea how much this stuff is still bothering you to this day. So it's something to think about, right? Something to think about, man. So through the jail systems, the court systems, through the healthcare system, a lot of these things we're up against. We're up against always. We feel like nobody is in our corner. Nobody is listening. So therapy, you talk to a therapist. That's another reason why black men don't go to therapists. The other reason is the lack of cultural competence. Let me tell you something. 70 to 71% of the psychologists that are in this field are all women. White women, too. White women. Right? So if I step in here and I'm now talking to you and you don't even look like me, I'm not even comfortable around you, because the people that threw me in jail look like you. The people that hurt and harmed me, the people that took advantage of me through this healthcare system, etc., maybe, not everybody, but might look like you. I'm hesitant to want to sit down and talk to you, to have a conversation with you. I'm hesitant, right? And already I'm dealing with masculinity issues, hypermasculinity. I'm already on 10. That's not what we do. We rather spin the block and hit the op, and then right? So I'm already in that mindset, and now I got to sit and I got to talk to you. Or maybe I don't even like adults. Maybe I'm not even cool with my own parents, and now I got to sit and have a conversation with you, and you don't even look like how I look. 4% of the psychologists out there are black. Only 4%. That's a dot. And how many of them do you think are men? So if you sit down and you're not even being able to look at and talk to somebody that look like me, if you sit down and you can't even vibe with somebody that look like me, your hesitation is still going to be harder for you to open up. And guess what? If I'm not even used to talking to you, if I'm the psychologist, the therapist, and I'm not even used to talking to people that look like you, I might step in and be nervous. I might step in and just be like, we don't have a connection. And now I don't even give us a try to even like connect with each other. Right? So that's why we got to also have more black men into this field with more representation, because the more we see each other, the more we like, show them what it like to see in a roaster. Show them how to move in a room full of vultures, right? I need that representation. I need to see you. That's why it's important that when you see, when you see basketball players do amazing things and get their money, it makes you want to get your money, because you like, I know I can do that. When you see rappers out there getting their money and doing their thing, it make you want to go get your money, because you like, I see myself. I see what that looks like. That make me want to go do it. When you see podcasters, or when you see streamers, or when you see, people starting up businesses, the more you see of us that we're out there and we're doing that, that's going to make you want to get out there and go do that. Right? That's why. So the lack of black therapists is killing us as well, because we need more brothers, such as myself, in those spaces, having those conversations and opening up and making people feel like, you can do this, because you can. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what you've been through. You know what you're going through, and you know what you've been through, and you know how hard it's been. Right? So you got to get into the space of trusting somebody, having that conversation, being open and being willing to talk. But also, because the other problem is, if you don't deal with it through communication, how is that going to come out? It's going to come out through, maybe through family. You can't always vent to mama. I'm just going to be honest. Mama is beautiful. We love mama. But sometimes mama like, you should have left that mother alone anyway. I've been told you I ain't like her. I don't like none of your friends, right? You can't always vent to mama. You can't always, just go post up and hang with the, your bros all the time. Sometimes you can. And we not against that. Sometimes you can. I'm not against that. I know I do with my people sometimes. But sometimes you're going to have to find an outlet, a comfortable, non-biased, someone that's willing to listen to you and keep your information safe, and someone that's not. Because Vince, let me tell you something. I heard this the other day, and it's by this Pastor McClure Jr., I believe it is. Vince vent to other rooms, right? Vince vent to other rooms. So when you get so when you in a space and you just talking to such and such and you sharing all your business, they're going to go share your business. Whether they do it indirectly or directly, they're going to go share your business. Especially if you just, I got a little, because there's somebody out there that love to see you messed up. Got a little dry. I heard about, yeah. I'm going to go, yeah, man, it's all good, and they going to go share your information. Vent to other rooms. You know that. So, you got to think about those things as time moves on. You got to think about who are you talking to, right? You could talk to your pastor. You could talk to your preacher, right? But the Bible always tell you this. Faith without works is dead. It's dead. So you can have a big dream. You can have all of the beliefs you want. But if you're not putting your plan into action, it's dead. And smoking and drinking is not going to help solve it all. Just like my youngins, vaping away is not going to help solve every issue. All right. So we do need to see more black therapists out there. We need to see more of us into those fields. I'm almost done here, man. I thank you and yours for checking in. This is extremely something that I definitely want to talk about. It's important. All right. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. The Mental Wealth Academy 8. The Mental Wealth Academy 8 page on YouTube. And you can also follow me. Please don't forget that. All right. And in the process of this, you got to remember that therapy is a proactive tool to help people process, plan, and grow. It's proactively meant for you. It helps you. I told you before, if you apply the steps, the interventions, and the tools that your therapist, your counselor gives to you, you have a better chance of coping with what is happening with you. You have a better chance of taking care of the issues and the problems that's happening, but you got to be open to it. I'm telling you right now, as a counselor, you know who mostly steps into my counseling rooms to talk to me? Young women. The young girls always come talk to me. Always step in and utilize it and have a conversation and you know, and pick my brain and just, you know, that's what they do. And the young men, once in a blue, the young men take advantage of coming to talk to me. But what they do is they go seek out the teachers. They go seek out the women. They go seek out the teachers. And they might whine to them and complain to them and tell them I'm hungry. All right. And a lot of times they get them and they treat them like they their babies. Right. So got to make that comfortable for them as well. You got to open up and allow for them to come in and step in and, you know, give them opportunities to speak. Right. And we also know therapy isn't easy. It's financial barriers that lie to that. Some of you have no idea how to find a therapist. Talk to your HR. Right. See if your insurance covers you speaking to a therapist. That's something you definitely want to check into. Right. Because you might be out of the network. That might not be something that they provide. Right. But there's many apps. Talk Therapy. You Will. There's different lines out there for you to talk to. So definitely you can Google some things or you can tap in with me and we can do more on that as well. All right. And then, like I said, fear of judgment from your family and friends is another reason why brothers might not tap into it. Don't want to be seen as soft. Don't want to be judged. Don't want to be seen like they have mental issues. We all going through something. This is one thing I learned through going through this is we're all going through something. Everybody has trauma because trauma is subjective. So you don't know what I'm going through and I have no idea what you're going through. And you don't know what I've been through that has made me feel vulnerable at times or have put me in a space where I felt like I was taken advantage of. And I don't know what you've been through. Right. So we got to always remember that when we see each other, you know, we're all going through something. And some people can mask it through, what's up, bro? Yeah, life is good. You know, I'm here. I'm doing me. And some people, it's written. I said it's written all over your face. So some people, it's on your mind. It's on your face all day. It's on your clothes. Not taking a bath, not keeping yourself healthy, not keeping yourself up, right? You're not eating. Hair look disheveled. You just look out of place. Right. So some of us do a great job hiding it. And some of us do some of us is just out in the open. It just is what it is. I want you to tell you this, man. You can still be powerful and still need help. All right. I don't want to be too long on this. I want to touch in real quick. But these are some of the reasons why black men don't go to therapy. You know, and I'm glad you stepped in. I'm glad you tapped in with me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And if you got any questions or comments or anything that you want me to touch on, go right ahead and reach out. But I encourage more brothers to go out there and see a therapist, talk to a counselor, find those groups you can talk to, because they also say you learn better in groups. So if you might be nervous, you might can find, some of those groups out there where you can step in and just talk and just have conversation with people that have been through things that you've been through. All right. So it's extremely important for you to find that your circle and heal yourself, brother. Heal yourself. I'm encouraging you to heal yourself. I'm encouraging you to step out and do something new this year that's different. All right. I don't want to talk to you and like, you got this. You're going to be okay. I don't want to talk to you in that way. I want to tell you it's going to be some work, but we gotta make sure we talk to the policyholders. We got to make sure we talk to the people in our community. We got to make sure that we deal with the policymakers. We got to make sure we look at the research and the data, right? We got to create more awareness. Everyone has to play a part in receiving the mental wealth and receiving the mental help. In improving their mental health, but it comes through different avenues. We all play a part in this. Better jobs, right? Safer streets, more activities in community centers, finding the right leaders to be a part of these things, improving our finances. It's just so many things. Realize, you're going to have to call out sometimes the system and the people that are doing, treating people harshly and inhumane within the system, right? These things all play a factor on your mental health. and sitting by and watching, sometimes you might not feel like it's gonna trickle down to you, but it finds you. It finds you. So we got to consistently always be vigilant, always be aware of what's going on around us. And if we see something that we don't like, we got to tap in. We got to talk to one another, right? What you don't reveal turns into a doctor bill. I said that last time. So we got to continuously, make sure we call each other out and help each other grow. I do want to tell you this, man. Suicide is rising among black men. And I believe the number is at like almost 600,000, but half of those are black men. If I'm not mistaken, half of those are black men. So we got to make sure that, black men take the opportunity to go talk to somebody, tap into the suicide prevention lines, right? Find a circle, find people that you trust, we here. Find your circle. Peace and love. Peace and love. I hope everyone is having a good evening. Enjoy your day. If you got any questions or concerns, tap into me. Let me know what's going on. Don't forget to follow me at Life with Halston. I do appreciate all of you. Peace and love. Thank you.